All right, folks, greetings and salutations. Like I said at part one and part two, I am just going to give you guys the whole series, part one, two, three, and four of the interviews with Robert today throughout the day. And this is going to be part three. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into part three of Robert's life with a dog man. Shall we? All right, guys, today I am back with Robert. And for those of you who have not heard, Robert raised a Dogman puppy or pup from, I believe, 3 days old all the way up until he was full grown and just a 9.5-foot beast that he got along with well. Robert, how are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Thank you for coming back on. I appreciate you taking time out of your evening. And I think the last thing we talked about was we were on some hunts that you had done with Rascal. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you so you can share what you've got for us tonight.
Okay. This next hunt, which I'm starting off from the last time, this next winter hunt, it was last right around January 1994 in the late afternoon. Me and Rascal set up camp around our favorite oak tree with our big deer hunting stand, and we hoisted it up 40 foot up in our oak tree. My truck was parked in the middle of our camp, and me and Rascal set up 3 campfires in a triangle formation. Me and Rascal settled in for the night after we had a real good meal of deer stew and biscuits, and we quickly fell asleep with me snuggled deep in Rascal's mane and beard, and his beard, and we were snoozing. And at that night, nothing happened at all, but it snowed real heavy. So in the morning, our camp, it was blanketed with snow, and even though our campfire was going, they were real low. So we got out in our deer in our tree stand, and within about 3 hours, we got 2 big deer. We dressed both the deer out. We buried the guts and skins. Now, after we got these deer, we got back up the tree stand with Rascal leaning up against me, and I was snuggled up against his stomach and chest with my rifle across my lap. And as we were waiting for more deer, I fell asleep against Rascal. Well, since it got real gray during the day, like it was going to snow again, well, I dozed off. And things got real quiet in the woods around us, and I kept hearing a crunch, crunch, crunch near us on the ground. Rascal, he growled, and I mean he really growled deep and loud, And I opened up my eyes and I looked down, and there was this skinny gray, white furred, nasty Bigfoot with red eyes, with a jagged, four-fingered hands that was trying to climb up our tree. Well, this thing was about 7 foot tall, maybe 500 pounds. Rascal moved around, and he slammed his huge right fist with his metal razors through this Bigfoot's face. It fell out of the tree dead and slammed into the ground after Rascal killed it. Well, I got on my flip phone and I called my grandpa, and he drove to our camp. He and Dad dragged this Bigfoot with my girlfriend checking out Rascal to make sure his hand was okay and stuff. And after that, they helped me and Rascal break camp, and we took the deer home, had a real great meal. And the thing with snow, and I don't know why, I just don't like it, because it shows where you've been and stuff, and it shows all your prints. And there's Bigfoot prints all the way around our camp. And Rascal's prints was around our camp too, which didn't bother me at all, but that Bigfoot's prints did, and that kind of creeped me out. So Grandpa and Dad, they got rid of that Bigfoot.
Now, when they got rid of them, what did they bury them, or did they burn them? What did they do?
They took this one over by the creek, where there's a bunch of fallen trees and stuff, and they cut up the fallen trees and threw it on top of the Bigfoot, poured some old oil and gas on it, and burned it.
Okay.
Now this next hunt, I'm going to call it the 1994 Christmas hunt. And this is just me and Rascal just before we met, just before Rascal brought his mate home. This was on a December 23rd, 1994. Me and Rascal started out early in the morning. We was walking across our cornfields and cornfields and stuff. And what we was doing a quick hunt. Well, we bagged 4 deer by 10 o'clock in the morning for Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner. And we knew this was going to be a great Christmas, because apart from that, me and Rascal, as we were hunting, we felt that we were being watched and followed. Rascal stayed with me the whole doggone time, because we usually split up, and we go one way and Rascal go another, and we'll kind of meet up in the middle in our defensive circle, hunting more deer. But this time we didn't do it. As we put our deer in the back of the truck, we both heard what sounded like moans. And then after that, about 30 minutes after that, we heard like a baby crying deep in the woods. And we hunkered down on the hill on the back of the truck, and we got ready for anything. I flipped the safety off I put a extra 20 round, I put a fresh 20 round clip in my rifle, my Mini 14. Rascal got his claws out and his razors folded out. He was getting ready too. We stayed behind that hill, peeking over, and it was eerie. The woods and everything around us was dead quiet, and all we can hear was a baby crying. I mean, it's like the air stopped, the wind just dead stopped. Now this is how eerie, and it was just eerie quiet.
Right.
And we didn't hear nothing at first. Nothing was moving. Then we heard footsteps close to us in the field, but we didn't see anything. Rascal started growling, and his eyes started turning bright red, and his claws were already out and ready. So we stayed behind that hill and we waited, but nothing came out. But we kept hearing a baby crying, and we kept hearing steps in the woods. Now, it had already snowed. We didn't see nothing. I don't know if whatever this was cloaked or what. Because when it got to be about 3 p.m., everything stopped. No baby crying, no footsteps, no nothing. I poked my head out from behind that darn hill, and Rascal kind of poked his head out. He looked at me and I looked at him. I said, let's count to 3. 1, and I did 1, and I said it real quietly, 3. Let's move to the truck real slow, and we did. And we got in the truck, and we drove out of there immediately, and we headed home. I mean, this is kind of a scary and disturbing encounter. We didn't see anything. I told Grandpa about this. He said it was a demon following us, and we needed to be more careful, which me and Rascal did. I said, and I asked him, what did this damn thing want? And he says, there's no telling when you're dealing with a demon. I mean, that kind of scared me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, we didn't see nothing. No bodies, we didn't even see anything cloaked, and that was hardly disturbing nothing in there.
Right, and there's been a lot of kind of people saying, hey, we've heard, these babies crying out in the woods.
Yeah.
And nothing seen. So yeah, it's definitely it's something you don't want to hear in the woods. That and silence.
No, because the hair on my back of my neck went straight up, and Rascal's mane went up. I mean, up. Because I don't know what this was.
Right.
We didn't see it. We could hear it. And we definitely heard it walking. And I looked even through my doggone scope to the direction where the footsteps were.
Mm-hmm.
And they were coming towards us. And I flipped over that scope, and I magnified that scope. I still didn't see anything through there. I even aimed down at the doggone snow to see if I could see footprints, appear.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff, and I didn't even see that.
That's strange.
Yeah, that's super creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when, that was still 1993?
That was 1994.
Okay.
That was the very last encounter.
All right. And then, where do we go from here with?
All right, we'll go to March of 1995, just before Rascal brought his maid home to us.
Okay.
Which was late in 1995.
Okay.
Now in March in 1995, Rascal and I were doing turkey hunting. It was very late in the afternoon. We didn't get any birds at all. We were out here. We was out there basically on patrol on our homestead along Highway 70 at dusk, which is about the stupidest thing to do. Rascal and I were sitting up on a high oak tree about 50 foot up. We were right along the highway. Now, I looked over and I looked down the highway and I spotted 2 bright orange white balls of light coming up the highway. And I thought, well, this is someone coming home. Mm-hmm. Well, these lights veered off the road, went through the bushes across the road in front of us, and went up a tree directly across of us. This when I noticed these lights had small, transparent, see-through bodies
Okay.
that were only 2 foot high, with 2-fingered hands and 2-toed feet. And each of these creatures, there's only 2 of them, each had one monster eyeball in the middle of their bodies. No mouth, no ears. Rascal watched them for about a second. Then he gave a warning bark. The eyeball creatures turned around, saw him, ran back down the tree, and went back the way they came. Man, Rascal immediately broke off our patrol and our turkey hunt and headed straight home. I told Grandpa what happened. He and Dad went to the place where we saw the creatures. He and Dad put out holy water and salt along the place where the creatures were. And that was creepy.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Now,
second,
did your grandfather say what he thought these were, or did he just...
he didn't say it first.
Okay.
Until the second time me and Rascal, when we were picking corn in back of our cornfields and we saw these same creatures.
Okay.
This time they saw us. They especially saw Rascal, and they took off running along our fence road deep into the woods. We went out and got Dad and Grandpa, and they spread holy water and the Epsom salt along the fence row that went all the way to the woods, and these creatures never came back. My grandfather said they were demons, and we had to be especially careful because they were watching me and Rascal.
Okay.
I mean, he said we had to really, really be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, in this, where do I want to start with here? Okay. Now, this is going to be in 1996. This is where Rascal brought his mate home.
Okay.
His mate was what I would describe as a type 3 normal hyena dogman, female. She was only 5 foot tall, light brown, with the prettiest green eyes I've ever seen. I mean, and I can tell she's female because of her curves and her almost human-like breast.
Okay.
And
now, when you say he brought her home, did he just take off one day and then?
Yeah, he takes off, a few times, and he'll be gone for about 2 or 3 days, and he'll come back.
Okay.
And I have a feeling he went to the LDL because I knew there's some dogmen that he consoled with and all that. Well, that one morning, I was asleep because I've been working that night since it's 1996. I started working for Walmart in 1994 as overnight dairy.
Okay.
And so I was sleeping. I was sleeping because I had about 3 or 4 days off because I decided to take a vacation. And Rascal found his mate during the spring of 1996. He'd been gone for about a week, and he came home one morning. Now, I'd been at work that night, so I took a shower, gave Rascal a bath, and we both went to bed. That next morning, which was my normal day off, Rascal and I were sleeping, and suddenly when my grandpa came in, he said, well, who was this little cutie? Well, I woke up and wondered I wondered and woke up wondered what my grandpa was talking about. I said, Grandpa, what the hell are you talking about? Until I looked at my window, and there was a light brownish, tan-colored muzzle peeking through my grandfather, just standing there with a great big crap-eating grin on his face. I got up and I walked over to the window and I looked at it, and there she was, a 5-foot type 3 hyena dogman with the prettiest green eyes I've ever seen in my life. Her head was short and slim, kind of like a boxer face, but her body features were definitely female. Her fingers were long like a girl's, but her feet were narrow and long. Now her claws were 4 inches and curved, and her ears were long and tipped and round at the bottom. She had human-like breasts, about 38 double D or whatever. Her tail was real long and bushy. And I turned around and looked at Rascal, who was laying on the bed smiling at me and wagging his tail happily, and I said, you got a girlfriend. I told him, I said, hey, she has to stay and be part of the family too, and which she did. And I hugged him real deep, and I told him I loved him, and I was proud of him. And my grandpa came over and hugged Rascal and said, good boy, and petted him. And now it took a few weeks of Rascal's mate to really get used to us, but she did.
Right.
Dad and Grandpa cleaned out the stable shed for her with a fresh hay, old but clean cloth, and old bed sheets for a bed for her. My grandpa gave her the name Lucy. And by the next month, Lucy was a full part of the family. I mean, she formed relationships with all of us, just like Rascal. But Lucy, she deeply bonded with Grandpa, and especially my sister, who Lucy slept with. And much in a way like Rascal sleeps with me.
Right. So she eventually, so it was about a month before she eventually trusted y'all to go in the house?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Now, when I would target practice with Rascal, Lucy, here's the thing, she caught on quick, and she picked up on his strength training, which she participated with him, and she really picked up on the speed training. And I found out how really fast, she was faster than Rascal. That's on 2 legs and 4. And of course, my grandpa and my sister really picked up on that and encouraged it. Now, Lucy's sight and hearing was every bit as good as Rascal's, which to me was amazing. What Lucy didn't have in strength like Rascal, she made up for in strength and agility. And Grandpa, he took super great care of manicuring Lucy's curved nails, making them as razor sharp as Rascal's. And when we would go out camping, having Lucy and Rascal was a real big comfort to all of us, especially me, and put my mind at ease especially. But on the patrols, me and Rascal would go on patrols, but Lucy, for the most part, she would stay at the house of my sister, my grandpa and dad, and the rest of the family. And I thought, well, maybe Lucy rather have us go on patrol and she stay, which really put my mind at ease, because every time me and Rascal went on patrol, I was always afraid that while me and Rascal were gone, some of these darn cryptids were going to sneak up and try and attack the house again. But with Lucy now there, that kind of put my mind at ease. That would be hard for any cryptid to sneak up on her, much less me and Rascal. that just really put my mind at ease.
Right. Now, was she did Rascal so she eventually just stayed out of the stable and just slept in the house with y'all. Did she ever have to confront anything while you guys were gone?
No.
Okay.
But what my grandpa did say, the first time that she stayed at the house and me and Rascal went out, he did hear some strange noises way out there in the cornfields. And he said she immediately went out the front door and she stood there in the backyard. He said she didn't give no warning bark or nothing like that. But she stood there in the middle of that backyard to make sure that whatever was making that noise saw her, and whatever was made that noise left. And he said my grandfather said when it left, she came back in the house. And she stood there at the kitchen window with everybody. My grandfather says, like me, he think it was one of those Bigfoot, but it was laying down on the ground, and that was crawling along. It saw her and was crawling along the ground, kind of like. Have you ever heard of Bigfoot do what's called a spider crawl?
It's kind of like a GI crawl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that's what these creatures did a couple of times, but they didn't dare come near the house.
Right. Huh. Well, at least you had that safety another safety kind of mechanism built into the.
Yeah. Now, the first incident with Lucy, this is a very late summer, the start of fall of 1996, where she was really getting to know us. It was getting dusk around 8:45 p.m. Lucy, who'd been with us for about 4 months, was in Teresa's room laying down next to Teresa on the floor. Teresa's laying in her bed. Now, all of us were getting ready for bed anyhow. When about 9 p.m., my sister screamed with Lucy roaring. I mean, this is the first time I heard Lucy bark, roar, or anything. Because there were two young Type 4 Bigfoot that was looking at Teresa through the open window. The closest young Bigfoot was a little bit too close to the window. Lucy grabbed him by the throat and stabbed him in the chest about 2 or 3 times. I rushed in the room with Rascal, who went out the window with Lucy, and there was a full fight that developed outside in the backyard. And I grabbed Teresa, put her under the bed, and when I looked up, Rascal had ripped out the chest of the biggest juvenile, which killed it instantly. Lucy, she was a little bit dirtier. Lucy slid under this juvenile and castrated him.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, and it fell on its knees, and Lucy ripped its eyes and throat out. And the whole thing was done by 9:30 p.m. Rascal and Lucy were back in the house. Everyone calmed down, and we washed Rascal and Lucy up real good. And in the morning, me and Grandpa and Dad took those two young Type 4 Bigfoot, what was left of them, down to the burning pile where they were burned completely. That was kind of scary.
Yeah. That is something if any were killed around your home, that is something that they would do, is burn them around, at a burning
Yeah.
pit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as I know, I mean, if anyone wanted to inspect the burning piles, shoot, they're free to.
Right.
I mean, you'd have to dig, I'm going to say 10 to 20 feet down, because just to see if you can find some of those bones and stuff.
Right.
And now the next incident, this was in 1997. This was during the winter, another winter hunt. This is when me and Rascal was deer hunting in our cornfields directly in back of the house. This was a weekend hunt, so me and Rascal got about 4 deer. We dressed them up, and real early in the morning, when Grandpa and Lucy drove up to our campsite and stuff, it was real foggy and cold for a winter's morning. I put all the deer meat and stuff in these 4 huge coolers, each cooler is about 70, 80 pounds each.
Okay.
Minus the deer meat. I mean, these coolers were huge because they stretched from end to end on my truck. And they were huge. It took 2 or 3 people alone just to move the things around and then try to carry them in. And we filled up all 4 of them coolers. And as I was putting the deer meat in all the coolers, Lucy and Rascal both gave some warning barks and deep growls. Grandpa and I flipped around and looked in back at the campsite, and they're standing in the field was 2 very large type 2 male Bigfoot. And each of those 2 are 8 foot tall and 800 pounds, with black eyes and square teeth, with 2 young juvenile black type 2 male Bigfoot that were 6 to 7 foot tall and about 500 pounds each. Grandpa and I pulled out our guns as Lucy and Rascal charged at the Bigfoots. Me and Grandpa, we shot and killed the juvenile Bigfoot that was closest to us with 2 shots to his head and groin. Now Rascal hit the next juvenile head on, slamming his razors and claws through its head, killing it instantly. Lucy slid under the biggest Bigfoot, castrating him completely. The Bigfoot slammed down to his knees real hard. He was bleeding bad. Lucy then got up and shook his anatomy in his face real slow, and then she just cut his throat with her razor sharp 4-inch claws, finally killing him. I mean, she was grinning from ear to ear. And when my grandpa saw that, he turned around and just said that was cold-hearted evil. Then he looked at Rascal, and Rascal came up to us. When him and Lucy came up to us, he patted Rascal on top of the head, and he said, "Son, don't ever make her mad at you, okay?" And then we took all 4 of them dead Bigfoot to the burning pile with Rascal and Lucy's help, and we burned them. And then we went home to a real excellent meal, and we had a restful 2 days of sleep and quiet. I mean, when Lucy fights, she fights dirty. She's what my grandpa would call a nut grabber.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
You ain't kidding, and she was too.
Now, did her and Rascal ever have kind of a? Did they ever get into any kind of art?
They got into what's called a mating spat.
Yeah.
But it was over quickly. They made up real quick.
Okay.
Now, during their mating or courtship, it was usually at night. And one time it was I was listening to music. I couldn't sleep. Her and Rascal were outside. Then I heard something, and I looked outside, and they were doing what's called what I would describe as a samurai disco dance or something. they were into their mating dance.
Okay.
And stuff, and the moon was out and all that, and I was just like watching them. Then they went back in the shed, and I think they mated, and then they came back in. Then they came into the house and all that, and it was just fine.
Okay, so they never really kind of had any kind of big dispute or anything ever where, you know...
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Now, this, next. This was really, really weird. I can't remember if this is in the summer of 1998 or... Me, Dad, and Grandpa were in the furthest 3 cornfields, which had all the sweet white corn. We were picking as much as we can with Lucy's and Rascal's help. We were picking all the corn until a little bit past dusk. When night fell, I felt something. I felt real easy, like we were being watched. Rascal and Lucy were looking around, staying real close to us. And I said to Dad and Grandpa, says, we're not alone. They agreed because Grandpa was watching Rascal and Lucy, and immediately they both took defensive turns in circles all the way around us as we headed back to the house. We didn't see anything, and Grandpa and Dad, we like scanned the field with the cornfields when we got back to the house with the spotlights, so we didn't see anything. And Rascal and Lucy were real on high alert until we actually got into the house. And about that late midnight, we were hearing baby cries, strange, I want to say dog howls, but they weren't really like dogs. And then we hear these screeches, and we might have heard 1 or 2 yahoos at the very far back in the cornfields for about an hour or 2. And then nothing that night, except for about 11:30, there were baby cries way, way back. I'm going to say either in the woods or just in back of the cornfields in front of the woods. And that went on from 11 o'clock to about 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking. Because I noticed this. Lucy, this is the first time her bright green eyes got real dark to about a dark red, and she was kind of growling. And Rascal was right there. He towered above her, and his eyes were already red, and he kind of growled. Then they both got real quiet, and I'm going to say, thank God nothing happened that night. Because we were being watched, but we didn't know about what or who. Because I don't know if it was Bigfoot or some other cryptid, because I've never heard of Bigfoot making baby sounds.
Yeah, that's not normally what you hear.
No.
Huh.
That was real scary.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
To Christmas, we were all glad Rascal and Lucy were with us. Because to me, it wouldn't. Even with Rascal there, to me, I'm glad. First of all, I'm glad with Rascal there, and now I was glad that Lucy was there. Both of them was there, because there's no telling what would have happened.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with any kind of noise that resembles, like we had said earlier, a baby, though that something is not right when you hear that.
No. And that even scared the girls.
Right.
That definitely scared my stepmom and my sister and my girlfriend. I know she was scared, but she pulled out her 9mm and she loaded it. Because that meant to me she was scared. Of course, the girls took little Sally and went into the back bedroom and put her there, you know, kind of hid her under the, well, they didn't hide her under the bed because Lucy went back there with the girls. And she was laying down with little Sally. Rest of us guys and Rascal, we stayed practically there all night at that kitchen window watching. And we had them spotlights on. But we turned off the spotlights a couple of times, you know, let everything calm down and stuff so the bugs can start chirping again and all that.
Right.
Then we'd scan almost once every 2 hours. We never saw nothing. We never saw any eyes shine or nothing. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, we decided to turn in. We went to bed. That was kind of really creepy.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know, not seeing anything, but all you can hear is, you know,
yeah,
and everything's on high alert.
Yeah. And I got well, when in 1997, yeah, this is a real strange hunt.
Okay.
With Lucy and Rascal. This is Lucy's first hunt. And this was the weirdest and strangest holiday hunts for me and Rascal ever. And it was Lucy's very, very first hunt with us. This is 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and it had been snowing with me and Rascal at our best hunting spot by the 2 ponds, which are froze over. What Lucy would do would send deer to us. Rascal drop out of our tree, snapping their necks. Well, I got it right, and I shot 2 other deer. So about 11 a.m., my sister, my girlfriend, and my stepmom drove up in Grandpa's truck, and we loaded all the deer there. And strangely, Lucy went home with them. I'm like, okay, so it's going to be me and Rascal for the rest of the day in our tree, and we got 2 more deer then. It was getting close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon when me and Rascal finally got the last 2 deer, finally. And at that time, it snowed again real heavy. I leaned against Rascal, and I went to sleep. He put his arms around me, and he was napping too. When it started getting dark, I kept hearing another crunch, 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 crunch on the ground. Rascal was listening real intently, and he looked down and put me against a tree. And I looked down. There was this 7-foot silver-faced, real black-skinned gogwai with red eyes, and he was climbing up. Now, Rascal, he had his razors wrapped around his fist. He punched this gogwai several times in the face, and it caved its face in, halfway ripping its muzzle off. And he killed that thing. But as he went down with this gogwai, Rascal yelped because he dislocated his shoulder real bad. I got Rascal back to the truck and threw a deer in back of the truck. When I got home, I told Dad and Grandpa what happened. We went back out there to where the gogwai was, and Lucy came with us this time. And my sister and my girlfriend and my mom, they made Rascal stay behind so they could fix his shoulder, because Rascal was wanting to come back out with us. And as we went to my hunting spot by the ponds, the gogwai's body was simply not there. We followed the blood trail with Lucy in the lead. We went all the way to the caves, but there was nothing there, so we followed the trail back to the Cumberland River, and the trail led all the way up to the LBL, where the gogwai was probably eating. And Lucy went around us in a kind of like a circle, and let us know there is nothing there. So we all went home. That Christmas, we opened up presents, had a real good meal. But as night came along, no one could sleep because of the weird and strange feelings we had. We stayed up all night for the most part, and we kept hearing strange little cries. Not like a baby cry, but I've never heard these cries before. And I mean, that was the strangest holiday ever, and one I'm not going to soon forget.
Yeah.
Because when we went to sleep around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, that Christmas morning, all of us guys did. The strange little cries stopped, and the girls said, "Heck with this," and they were making Christmas dinner and everything else, getting ready for Christmas dinner and all that. And when Rascal came over to me, his shoulder was all bandaged up and all that. And my girlfriend says, well, my girlfriend and sister both told me he's going to stay down for a while until his shoulder heals up in a couple of days, which it did. I mean, that was real weird.
Right.
Now, and the next thing I wanted to get you on in is how we had fun with Rascal just before he found his mate. Okay. But she was included in all of our having fun too. Christmas was always real important to me. And me and the girls, here's what we do. We would bake ribs, beef brisket, ham, and deer at this time. We would have green beans with bacon, ham and beans, black-eyed peas, coffee, pumpkin pie, spiked eggnog, which Rascal loved, and I did too, and chocolate cake. Christmas loved the Christmas tree with the blinking lights. I mean, he was amazed with those lights. He loved them lights. And we would open up our gifts, and this is where Rascal got his new foldable metal razors for his claws, which he got to test them out on a huge piece of aluminum sheet. Me, I got a new knife scope for my Mini 14, and Dad and Grandpa got new tools, and the girls got new clothes. I mean, and we had a big Christmas feast with no leftovers. That was one of the best holidays with Rascal. Now, during the summertime, we had fun during the summertime. We would have huge summer fish fries, which is also one of the best times of Rascal. Dad and Grandpa and me would deep fry 4 or 5 big monster wash tubs of catfish, with the girls making hush puppies, coleslaw, baked potatoes, cornbread, pork and beans, and homemade ice cream. We would all sit at the table. Me and Rascal at one end of the table and everybody else at the other end. And we would just dig in and have a feast all day long. And another thing what we'd love to do, we would go out when the girls girls, they like swimming and stuff. So we would always go back of town to where an old rock quarry was. We would do, me and Rascal, what we do, we'd climb up on the bluffs where the bluffs and stuff right up above the water, and we'd dive down in that lake. Me and Rascal would be doing cannonballs just to keep cooled off. And the girls, they would be laying out. But what the girls do is they'd have me and Rascal do monster cannonballs when we wrap around each other and dive down in from real high up. And the girls would want us to wet those rocks where they'd lay their blankets and everything down. And they would be sunbathing and all that. Now Thanksgiving, that was another, I'm going to say, fun time. Thanksgiving, to me, Thanksgiving was real special for me and Rascal. I mean, the evening before Thanksgiving dinner, that was a very important night for me and the girls because we'd be smoking deer, ham, turkey, real slow. Dad and Grandpa will be baking pecan and blueberry and apple pies, as well as yams and green bean casserole, corn on the cob, and cornbread. Coffee would be brewing all night long. And me and Rascal would be taking naps, and the girls would be taking 2 or 3 hour shifts until all the hams, turkey, and deer were done. That morning before dinner, we'd get prepared, say the Lord's Prayer. Then we'd all settle down right around 11 a.m. to noon, have the best feast ever. And then the rest of us, then all of us guys would be watching football games and holiday programs on TV.
Now, when I don't mean to jump back to this, but when you guys went swimming, Rascal he enjoyed the swimming?
Oh shoot, yeah.
Okay.
He loved swimming.
Was he very good at it?
Oh yeah, he was real good at it. And okay. He could swim underwater too. You know, canines don't swim underwater.
Right.
Rascal did. And he can hold his breath underwater too when he went underwater.
Okay.
I mean, he was real good swimming.
Right.
Because that was part of his training too. And next thing I want to get into, I don't know if we got time enough to get into, I want to discuss how the Dogman family and how they function and the differences between them and the Bigfoot clan.
We're about 51 minutes in.
Yeah.
You want to hold off on that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because I don't know how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
I guess a couple of questions. Now, did Rascal and Lucy, would they take off into the woods and just go on like day outings and stuff like that? You know, just like a regular, animal, or because you lived in the country. So
yeah,
I mean,
we lived in the country. Yeah,
your backyard was open territory for them. Did they just go and take off and not
all
come back
because
for
our
days?
backyard connected up with the fields? Yeah, they did quite a few times.
Okay.
Which, I mean, the birds will still be chirping when they go out and all that. Wouldn't be any strange crap going on. And it's like this. We wouldn't be missing any livestock, and neither would our neighbors and all that. Yeah. And it's like this. Those two basically, when they got together, they basically, it got to where at one time, until Rascal's death, at one time we didn't see any other cryptids. Those two had basically ran these cryptids out.
Right.
Because when they came up to a tree structure that these dang Bigfoot, and I did see what they did. And this, at the time, Lucy was just coming into heat. Here's what her and Rascal did. They tore this structure down. Rascal at first would defecate on it and urinate on it, but Lucy would just urinate all the way around where he urinated. And I found out why they did this because I asked my grandpa this, and Grandpa says, here's the thing. Lucy and Rascal are letting all these other cryptids know that there is a mating pair now in this area.
Right.
And they pretty much stayed away. The cryptids did.
Yeah, that'd be the most smartest thing to do.
You ain't kidding.
So when they destroyed like this, the Bigfoot thing and stuff like that, no cryptids are around. Life must have seemed kind of tame compared to what it was.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is getting pretty tame when it's just Rascal.
Right.
But here's the thing, with Lucy there with him, things just got a whole lot better.
Right, yeah.
I mean, when I got home with both of them, now off in the distance, we could hear screams and everything else from the Bigfoot, but that would be about it. Where they tore that tree structure down.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's actually quite amazing. Just having you've got like a almost like a home security system and armed guards around your home.
Yeah.
Did they ever, like, let's say they're out and about doing their own thing. And did they ever come home with like deer or a deer on their own?
Yeah.
To kind of surprise the family or?
Yep.
Okay. Huh.
Because I've seen when Lucy, when she goes after deer, she'll break their hind legs. She'll hit them from behind like a football player.
Right.
And slash their tendons where they can't run. That's where Rascal will come along, snap, goes the neck.
Wow. So they were a pretty good team.
Yeah, they were one of the best hunting teams I've ever seen.
Right. I don't want to jump too far, but I gotta ask. Now you obviously said they mated. Did they ever have a litter or pup or?
Yes, they did. Since they were alpha male and alpha female. This is what my grandfather told me, because when she was pregnant, boy, my grandfather, he was giving her extra everything, giving her milk, giving her everything.
Okay.
And he was making her as comfortable as possible and giving her as much privacy as she wanted so she can have those pups. Because they usually have 2 or 3 pups.
Right. In
the first litter. Well, my grandfather, and this a few times, when the sheriff and 2 deputies found out Rascal had a mate, they started talking to my grandpa, and they said, what would be the implications if we could have Rascal and Lucy, we, start having, like, domesticated. They started asking about domesticated Dogman, having them in canine units or search and rescue. Because my grandpa was even thinking, he wasn't even thinking about that, but that did come to his mind.
Okay.
But when Lucy had her first litter, they died.
Were they
my grandfather
too big
says
and she's too small? Because she was small for.
Yeah, only 5 foot. No, my grandfather says this is what usually happens between an alpha male and alpha female. He says usually and I don't know how he knew this, but he did. He says, usually the alphas, their first letter dies.
Okay.
And that made me sad, and I cried. And Teresa found out about it. That, and there's one a few times,
Was that
when Lucy was recovering, and we were burying the pups, right where Rascal is buried now. Teresa wrapped her arms around Lucy, and she was just crying.
Right.
Because, she lost the pups, and we were all sorry. We were holding on to Lucy and all of that. And my girlfriend and my sister then started giving her antibiotics so she can get stronger. And they were afraid that she'd be bleeding because of the birthing and all that.
Right.
And Rascal was kind of worried. He went over and nudged her and everything else. And they held each other, and Rascal actually cried with her. So to me, this means like Dogman, in many ways, have emotions just like us.
Yeah.
They feel pain, they cry. I mean, it's like this Dogmen are not stupid creatures. They're not. Not like these damn Bigfoot, I can tell you. And I don't want to say, on here, so.
Right. Now, so that was their only litter they had?
No, they had a second litter.
They did. Okay.
Which I'll get to later.
We'll get into later. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how close to when Lucy first came in years to, because I think we're at 97, 98?
Yeah, we're in 97.
Okay.
This is her second year. Actually, see, found her in 1996. So this is her first year with us.
Okay.
Going into the second.
Okay. So she didn't have that first pup or litter early on into her being there. It was like a while after being there.
It wasn't until after a while.
Okay.
That she had that first group.
All right. Now you said that you said that Lucy would or tended to be around your sister a lot.
Yeah. She stayed around my sister like crazy.
Like Rascal and you, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm assuming she's probably very protective of your sister. Let's say you and your sister got into an argument.
She would get in between us and push both of us back.
Okay. All right. Now, was there any kind of jealousy if, let's say, you were paying attention to Lucy? Would Rascal get jealous? Or if your sister was paying attention to Rascal, was there any kind of jealousy like that? Or
not really, no.
Okay. All right. And
but I can tell you this much: one night when me and Teresa were just up, watching satellite TV, and I forgot what we was watching.
Right.
And Lucy was up, and she was leaning up against Lucy, and I was leaning up against Rascal, and we were just watching TV. And on the side of the house was like, we heard a thump, 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 thump. Didn't know what the hell that was, and both Lucy and Rascal, they went into action. I mean, I've always been like this. Be careful of what goes bump in the night.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what it is. And whatever this was went thump, thump, thump. Those two went into action. Now, Lucy went front ways to the kitchen went around the kitchen, looking through the windows, through the dining room, into my bedroom. Now, Rascal went the opposite way to the back bedrooms and the bathrooms, and he was looking through the windows there. And I don't know, I guess they didn't see anything. But whatever it was, my doggone sister was going to head out that darn front door, and Lucy stopped her right there. And Lucy and Rascal both stopped her. Lucy stood there at the door, and Rascal picked up my sister and carried her all the way over to the doggone couch, and my sister started protesting, and I went shh to her like that. Because, man, I was real quiet, and I was listening. I was looking out the window, and it's like that's when I turned off the TV to turn out all the light and all that, because we only had the TV on.
Okay.
We didn't have no lights or anything else on, and I let everything get dead quiet. Lucy wouldn't leave that front door. Because about this time, this is the first time when I saw her eyes get red. And I saw her claws come out, and she just had one of these absolute vicious looks on her face. And I said, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And Rascal, he more or less pushed us in back of the couch and went over there with Lucy. His eyes was red too. And whatever it was, they stood at that door for a good hour, 2 hours. And whatever it was left.
Wow.
You know, we never knew what that was.
Right. So you're, I guess we're coming up on time. I'm trying to fill in some blanks here. Your granddad obviously had a very large fondness for both of these dogmen.
Yeah. He flat out had a love for Rascal and Lucy.
Right. Now, I can only assume that love was, the same. For both.
It was
respond that they loved your granddad as well. If you guys were, let's say, I don't know, on a family kind of like the day is, coming to a close, the family's all inside and you're all kind of relaxing. Are they going to be in with you in the living room while you guys watch TV? And when you did that, did they lie like dogs?
Lucy kind of did a little bit, but Rascal would lay down kind of like me on his side.
Okay. Like you explained when the intruder kind of busted in.
Yeah. Because he was dozing.
Right.
Rascal had his arm tucked under his head, he was dozing. But he wasn't dozing when that doggone door smacked into him.
Right, obviously, yeah. I mean,
and then it was funny all the way from there.
Yeah. You had said earlier with the local law enforcement, obviously one of them was aware of Rascal because he came, and I think you said he was your cousin or family.
Yeah. The sheriff was our cousin.
Okay. Did any other law enforcement know of them, or was that kind of a quiet?
That was kind of a quiet thing, and a sheriff told the two deputies, "You be quiet too."
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking, like you said that your granddad and father were both very adamant about keeping it a secret.
Yeah. And so was my dad's best friend.
Right. How could you trust?
Was his rank? I finally found out what it was, and it wasn't brigadier. It was like a 1-star general. So I don't know if a 1-star general commands a brigade or what.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
See,
either.
I get kind of see. I've never been in the military,
right?
But my family has. I couldn't volunteer for the military because I've got a kidney disorder and I'm diabetic.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you guys trust these police officers that weren't your family to, like not say anything?
Well, for the first thing, I actually went to school with both those deputies.
Okay.
And we've been best friends for a long time.
Okay. All right. Because I was wondering, like.
Yeah, because Tony, my best friend, he was one of the deputies.
Okay. All right. Now, your grandfather made that special pair of claws for Rascal. Did he ever make any for Lucy?
Yes, he did. A puncher type. But he fitted them on her hands, and she slid them right off because she didn't like them.
Okay.
He says, okay.
Yeah, she was more wild. How old do you think she was when she came to you guys?
She was pretty young.
Right, but still grew up in the wild.
She was a young adult.
Okay.
Just coming into, I'm going to say adulthood or mating.
Right.
Or mating type.
Right, yeah. And that's the big difference of Rascal being able and accepting those claws and her not accepting them because she had spent so much time out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that ever an issue?
My grandfather, when he manicured her claws, he always put baby oil on her claws first because he was making her claws not only more maneuverable for her, but he was also strengthening them so she wouldn't chip them and stuff.
Okay. All right. Now, being that she was raised outside of, she was raised out in the wild prior to coming to you guys. Was that
at first I was kind of scared?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Was there kind of any issue with that? Not trusting, because you'd have to really trust her now. You're putting.
I trusted her. It wasn't a matter of trust. I was just kind of leery because I'm thinking, hey, she's wild,
Yeah.
But when I started getting to know her, I'm like, well, she's just intelligent as Rascal, or even more so. So when she started accepting us, and we were the first ones to accept her right off the bat because her being Rascal's mate, hey, this was special. Because in a way, my grandfather, he didn't want to run Rascal off by us not accepting her.
Right.
Me, I wanted to accept her. I told him that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
because something. I've been with Rascal so long. I damn sure didn't want to lose him.
Yeah, and it sounded like he was willing to accept her right off too, because
and it's like this. He brought her home to show her to us.
Okay.
Which we accepted.
Yeah, which is, I mean, very cool that you guys were able to do that,
Yeah. I think what helped us the most is because we've been with Rascal so long, and we raised him up from a little newborn baby to what he is now.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, you were his only family that he knew. That's it. It's you guys. There was no one else but.
Yeah. Now he met other Dogman, but it's like this. We were his family. They weren't.
Right.
Yes, he was a dog man just like them, but at the same token, you know, we were his family. So it was like, you know, he it's like this. He made a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is very cool. I mean.
And these other wild dog man, they more or less stayed in the LBL. They did, and they respected Rascal. Now we would see them from time to time, but at a far off distance. Rascal would lift his head up, Lucy would lift her head up, then they lay their heads back down. It was like, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's very cool. I'm very cool that you guys were able to have such a bond with Rascal. We're coming up on time now. I want to thank you for sharing all this information. Take time out of your evening. I know you work today.
I had fun.
Yeah. I'm glad that I was able to ask some questions. You know, I did see in the comment section a few people where one person had commented, you know, what about pictures? What about this? What about that? And one of my subscribers who had been here for a while actually said, you know, at first it was kind of hard to believe, but now I believe him. And all of your questions, the person who was asking the question, all of those questions have been answered in the videos prior. My thing is, when I talked to you the first time and we talked about Rascal, and a subject was brought up, which will be brought up probably toward the end of all this, you broke down. And unless you're a very good Hollywood actor, which you're not,
no.
A person can't just, I mean, you became an emotional mess, for lack of better words.
In a way, I still am, because
right,
Rascal and now Lucy, they were part of my life.
Yeah.
This is something, you know, that I'm very, very happy, and yes, in many ways, proud about. They were there for me. I want to say this, they helped me through my time that I really needed help.
Right.
And they, in a way, they brought me closer to my family, who is now gone. And only a few of my cousins, 2 or 3 of my cousins, are alive. Two of them still live at they bought mom and dad's house when I left.
Right.
Because it got so hard on me. And I left right around, because Grandpa died in 1999. No, in early 1999. Which really hurt, because Lucy and Rascal both they cried, and they gave some real long, sad howls that really tore me up.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to bring anything up to get you upset. No, I was just saying, you know, where people have now started to become a little more accepting, and, you know, a lot of people are really enjoying these encounters. I am. You know, I am fascinated, and I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, knowing now that there was a pup born. So
yeah,
you know,
3 of them.
Right.
3 of them, and they didn't live. They might have lived. They lived through the night, but they didn't early morning.
Okay. Well, we'll save that for next. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you know,
I
there's a
will.
lot more that, you know,
Oh
I'm
yeah, a
excited
whole
to
lot
hear
more.
about. So,
Yeah,
once again, don't hang up. I want to talk to you for a minute after.
yeah,
It was a pleasure having you on. I
yeah.
really
Oh,
appreciate
I
you
love being on.
sharing this with us all. And stay safe. And thank you once again. And I will talk
Yeah,
to you very soon.
yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, folks, that was part 3 of Robert Sharp's life with Rascal. Something that I probably have never said, but I will first and foremost admit that when Robert first reached out to me, I was a little hesitant and doubtful. Who wouldn't be, right? You know, it's kind of a stretch if you really don't put into the equation, hey, we are talking about a 7 to 8 foot walking wolf, North American wood apes, these crazy looking creatures that people see running around. And then I put into the equation, I have folders and folders of state subscribers. What makes them any different than Robert? None. And then after we did the interviews, after I got to meet him and such, it wasn't like he was a flash in the wind. No, he is stuck around the channel. He has seen the negative and positive comments. And, you know, most people, when they get negative comments, retaliate. And Robert doesn't. He flat out states, hey, you know, this is what happened. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But I know that it happened. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Part 4 will be in a little bit here. I'd like to thank everyone for supporting the channel. It is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone's simply treated with the respect that we all deserve, and that is because of all of you, so thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.